Could you have built your business to 14 million if you weren't customer centric?
No way.
Today's guest is Lance Hill, CEO of 8 Group, a certified B Corp and a multi-award-winning leader in print and marketing services.
We've up a job. We've made some amazing customer relationships from the first job going wrong. Sounds crazy.
Have you ever wondered how to strike the perfect balance between organic growth and acquisition growth? Or how to create a leadership team so powerful it becomes the driving force behind your success?
I don't talk BS. If I say I'm going to do something, I'll get it done. And I have this paranoia around making sure that we always add value, go the extra mile.
With over 35 years of experience in direct marketing, in this episode, Lance shares his insights into MBOs, building trust, exit strategies, and the real role of a CEO in driving the business forward. This episode is sponsored by Initium Corporate Finance, advising ambitious business owners up to and beyond a company sale. Let's do this.
If I lose that 250 grand, is it going to take my business down? And the answer is no.
ActionCOACH, the help you need to grow your business. Lance Hill. All right. So growing a business to 14 million, what are the most important factors?
Diversification is certainly one of them. We are a business that's very much around the customer. So we started much smaller. So we had to, the ambition was to grow it organically. Customers are our bread and butter. Customer is king, as they say.
Queen.
Or queen, indeed, absolutely. We've grown the business organically initially, but then we've done other things to diversify, to future-proof, to spread our offering to our existing customer base, and we've grown that way. I think that's the bulk of how we've grown. So that for me is really important to how we grow a business. Your customer's got to be first.
Look, diversification, grow organically, grow through acquisitions. We'll touch on all of these. Future-proof your business, nice language. But the thing that you mentioned twice in there was customer first.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett was having an interview with Charlie Munger, his right-hand person. And he was being interviewed, and they said, "What's the most important thing in business?" He says, "You know what the single most important thing in your business is? This is the most important thing in your business." And he kept everyone by suspense, and everyone's thinking of this and cash flow and a plan, and he said, "Your customer.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing in your business." And you said it twice in there, customer centric. Where did that philosophy come from for you?
Right back to the beginning when I started work. I was lucky enough to work when I was an apprentice even at a very market-leading sort of direct marketing print business. And I was lucky from a very, very young age to be surrounded by, I guess, people who were leaders, but also a business that was clearly very, very focused on the customer.
How old were you?
When I started work, I was 16, straight out of school, literally straight out of school. So very wet behind the ears in short trousers.
So you've done your apprenticeship now?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
I know, you never stop learning.
Yeah, you never stop learning. We're getting that about you. So
Yeah.
you just had your 50th birthday.
That's right. Yeah, last year.
Ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was lucky from right at the beginning, and I think I would say 90% of the business I've worked at up until now, I've always had that sort of very much a strong focus on customer service. I think that's just become part of my DNA. I think, and the norm. I don't even look at it any other way. It's just kind of how we've got to be.
Is there any standout moments for that is the best customer service experience I have ever seen? There's a wow moment. There's a strategy. There's a philosophy that someone's had. There was a particular leader. Are there any standout moments with any of them regarding customer impact or experience?
Yes. And you know what? It's from a negative start point.
Go for it.
So, for example, in a production environment, we might cock a job up for a client. So let's say a customer, it could be a new customer, we've cocked up a job and we've turned that customer into one of the best customers by being honest, transparent, working with integrity. So, look, we've made a mistake, we've cocked it up, we're going to put it right. And we've made some, not this current business, but previously, and this current one probably, we've made some amazing customer relationships from the first job going wrong. Sounds crazy, but actually the customer then trusts you. They realise you're being honest. You've put right, you're wrong at our cost. And then you've gone on to build some amazing relationships. So Those are the ones that actually stand out.
Yeah.
Of course, nobody wants to cock a job up or make a mess of it, even as buyers we don't, as consumers. But when somebody puts right the wrong, I think for me that stands out.
Puts right the wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so true, isn't it? We learn more from mistakes than we do from success. Now, success leaves clues, but mistakes teach you. If you ask the question, why have we made this mistake? But it's not just asking the question why we've made this mistake and finding out and then fixing it. It's also communicating and dealing with the customer appropriately. And,
Yeah.
and the way that you just approached it then was quite transparent. There was a communication, whether it's a strong communication, there was a humble communication.
Yeah.
Look, we've made a mistake here. I mean, how should people handle that conversation? Because
about-
that is a difficult conversation, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, nobody wants to pick the phone up to a customer and say, "Really sorry, we've just messed your job up, or we're going to be late, or the quality's not great. We're going to have to do it again." And that's not the conversation you want to have. But as I say, you can turn it into a positive and say you don't want to do that. But I think it's about being honest. It's just saying to the client, right, this is the problem. This is what's happened. But giving them the outcome. So you ring them with a solution. So you've got a problem and you've got a solution straight away. I used to say to some of my team previously, don't ring the customer with just the problem. Only ring them when you've got the solution. But we need to be quick. We need to be timely and be honest and say, this is what's happened and we'll put it right. And here's the solution. And 9 times out of 10, in my experience in 35 years in work and in the industry, it's worked. It's not backfired. You might get the odd one where it's difficult and the customer's not happy, but in the main, I think if you're honest and you're open about what's happened, how you're going to put it right, and how what preventative steps you might put into the business in terms of procedures going forward to stop it happening again, then I think as I say, 90% of the time you'll be in a good place.
It's a bit like class 101 on customer service, this really, isn't it, for us all right now? I'm making notes just like the audience are, right? Be quick, be honest, be transparent, find a solution that you can put this right quickly as a team, and get communicating that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so that's the difficult conversation bit. What about fixing the problem once that mistake's happened?
Yeah, that's difficult. I think, and this is where experience kicks in. I think, going through the years, I've worked with other people more senior than me, perhaps when I was an apprentice or coming up through the ranks, and I've seen a problem, I saw how it was fixed, and then that goes upstairs. That goes in the mental filing cabinet. I remember that one. And you become a solutions or a fixer. You can say, right, I know with my experience I can go and solve a problem. So, and again with the team, you might see somebody, one of the team might be like a rabbit in the headlights. What, we've made this mistake. What are we going to do? And it's about being calm and saying to the guys, right, nothing is insolvable. We can solve this. Let's bring together the mindsets we've got. Let's look at the problem, break it apart. What can we do to put it right? If it's a job that's been printed wrong, quite often it's a straight reprint, do it again, and we take the hit on the cost just to get it done. But there could be other factors like delivery or something goes missing, all sorts of different things. So I think it's just using experience and keeping calm, not panicking as well, and saying to the client, we've got this, we'll sort it.
Could you have built your business to 14 million if you weren't customer centric?
No way. So
why do you say that so with such conviction?
I've worked at one particular business stands out that was very, very production led. So a little bit of tail wagging the dog. So rather than having the customer at the forefront, they were very much production led. So it was all about innovation, products, delivery. Quality was good, but actually sometimes they were trying to drive something that the customer didn't necessarily want or they didn't ask. So you've come up with a great bit of innovation, guys, but have we asked the customer or have we looked at the market? Do they actually want this? And is this something they're going to want today, tomorrow, and in 2 years' time? Or have we just come up with it because we think it's a great idea? And I've been through that where it's been production led, and it has its downsides because you could come up with a great idea, as I say, but the customer doesn't actually want it. Not yet. Maybe you want it in 2 years, but is it viable?
Yeah.
So I think you've got to go out and listen, talk to customers, and develop the market from there. So, and that comes from service. And that's part of the service. It's actually saying, what are your challenges? What keeps you awake at night? How can we help you?
And how often would you have those conversations?
With our key customers, we would try and have those conversations, quarterly as a minimum with our key customers, like a QBR, a quarterly review and say, okay, how's it all going? Get the general feedback and say, what else can we do?
QBR, quarterly business review.
Yeah,
okay.
That could be informal or more formal, and there might be a set agenda, but
Yeah.
we'd always ask, how's it going? And they would probably tell us anyway, right? But you might get a specific opportunity to just drill down a bit more and say, what else could we do? Is there anything else that is there anything that's troubling you, or what more could we do that we don't do?
What in one of those meetings? What's the biggest learning that you've ever had on one of those meetings?
This episode is sponsored by Initium Corporate Finance, advising ambitious business owners up to and beyond a company sale. Now back to the podcast.
I think it's drawing out the honesty of the customer, because unless you ask them, sometimes they might not tell you.
But is there any that's that memorable? It's like, wow, I did not know they were going to say that you can think of right now.
Yeah, definitely. When one client asked, could you provide this, like another service? And I went, yeah, 100%, we could do that. But I'd never asked them about another service, which then became a bolt-on service. So we may have gone and invested in something because the client said, you know what, we want to do that, and we want to do that with you, but you've never mentioned it before.
Yeah, they did the upselling for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cross-selling for you.
And that comes down to the questioning.
How many questions should you ask on a QBR?
Not too many. I would say probably only 4 or 5, because you've got to ask the right ones and make sure when you ask the question, you zip it and let the client do the talking. Let the customer tell us what they want, and then we act on it.
Can you give us the 4 or 5 questions? You know what this?
Yeah. What else could we do for you that we currently don't do?
Right.
And I think you then add on that you think would fit within our current offering or remit. So that's one, because you could then draw quite a lot of information out, and that might spin off an idea around diversification.
Yeah.
You go, I hadn't thought of that. We could do that. Or we've got a supply partner who could do that.
It's nice though, isn't it? Because you're making it about them. Is there anything else that we can do for you?
Yeah.
How else can we help you?
Yeah.
How can we streamline what we're doing with you to make your business and life better? Yeah. What about like the future of the industry and stuff like that?
That's a good one, because you would say, looking at the future, what do your competitors do that you currently don't do that you want to do, or how could we help you? So
again, that question is all about them, isn't it?
It is. It's all about them. So again, it's drawing out. You walk into that. I would say to the team, let's walk into that meeting with a white sheet of paper, other than the 4 questions we're going to ask, and he's come away with a full set of notes and a whole load of information about those 4 questions that we've asked. What is it? And then you take away and you act on it. So it is about. If you ask 10 questions, it's too much. It's 3-4 key questions that are going to draw out a lot of information that's really intelligent info that you can take away and use.
What's really powerful here is the QBR. You could not have got your business to 40 million if it wasn't customer centric.
Yeah.
Why do you say that? If you're not customer centric, what does it stop you doing? What does it stop you?
You just become another supplier.
Right.
I think we want to stand. We're a business that. I'll reframe that. We do stand out. We get regular feedback, regular testimonials from our customers about, wow, that was brilliant. We'll ask them and say, how did the first job go? Fantastic.
What is your business?
We are a direct marketing print business as a rule. So advertising, direct marketing, direct mail, data. We're now involved in creative, so design as well, production. And we're diversifying into digital as well.
Production of
so not that sort of stuff. So more like marketing. So most of it goes in the post. So marketing, advertising, mail.
Yeah.
A lot of it's critical communication. We do a lot of work in the pharmaceutical sector. So it could be critical comms that goes to hospitals, GPs, and then we do a lot of retail customers. We've got some massive clients. And it's marketing comms, most of it. Some of it's critical comms, could be essential info, but it's communication mainly. And customer service is key. It's a very competitive market. So it's about how do we stand out from the madding crowd, as it were, and make ourselves better, because we haven't got that many USPs. So service is a key one. And that's why we've got a fantastic client base that keeps coming back. But I am never complacent, and I have this paranoia around, making sure that we always add value, go the extra mile. I think we drill that into to everybody in the team and the whole business, top to bottom.
Part of the culture, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so diversifying, customer-centric, we've gone there. Organic growth versus acquisition growth. What's been your experience of both of those?
Over many years, I've done both. I think this business we've mostly grown organically. We started up another division in 2022, which was a completely off the cuff and out of the blue.
Have you ever started a division before that?
No. We bought previous.
What led you to want to sort of split it up and get a different department or a different division in the business?
It was opportunity. So without going into massive detail, which would be very complex, the printing industry has been through a lot of consolidation over the last 10, 15 years probably. But a particularly large print business in the UK went into administration in 2022, early part of the year, and was struggling, and it was pretty obvious. So, and I worked at that business prior to this one, and one of the guys there, really good, he was the sales director there, the other division that I was looking after, he said, look, this is not going well. We had a chat, we had a coffee, and it kind of was a bit of a beer mat conversation, went from having a coffee about what he might do. And I said, I think there's an opportunity here. We could do something. And we moved at breakneck speed to set up a business, but just the two of us in the background to start with, while this other business was starting to really struggle, and there was some key client work that was going to be at risk. So we moved quickly, and I employed 5 people pretty much overnight, took on the headcount, took on the risk. We had to secure some paper that was stuck in a port in Finland that wasn't being released, it wasn't being paid for, so I had to take a pretty big risk with that. I had to cough up £250,000 up front for a load of paper to get it out of a port, to move it to the printer we were moving it to, because we couldn't do it ourselves, so we had to outsource it to another partner. So that was done at breakneck speed, and that business went from 0 to 6 million revenue in year 1 with 5 staff.
Okay, so wait on. First of all, you don't seem like the kind of guy that makes impulsive decisions at breakneck speed. There's something a little bit calculated, strategic, just, savvy about you, just in the way that you're coming across here. So what happened in that conversation over a cup of coffee for you to realise we need to take this opportunity now?
There was 2 customers in particular that I had relationships with as well, as my colleague Rob. And I knew them, and I knew they needed support, because we knew that the situation was going to end badly at this other print business. And we knew that there was a couple of clients which we had relationships with, who we trusted, who they trusted me and Rob, my colleague, where we could go and have an off-the-record conversation originally and said, what if we came to you with a plan B?
So, all right, so you had the coffee.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, conversations spark realizations, and the industry pretty well. You're calculating the risk factors. Now, you mitigated the risk by going to them with, what if we did this? That's what you did, really, there, isn't it?
Yeah.
You mitigated the risk.
Yeah, kick the tyres.
What do you mean, kick the tyres?
Test the water with that client. So if I said, I've got a plan B for you, and it's this, this, and this, how does that sound?
How quickly after the cup of coffee was it?
We had a cup of coffee, then I think we maybe caught up again a few weeks later for another one. And
Okay.
I think I think the cogs were turning in both our heads.
Yeah, it's not quite like 200 miles an hour in the moment of making the phone call this afternoon. There was
quite.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was 2 weeks to get ready for this 250k coming out of your bank. Now, was there a risk that you'd lose it all?
There was a risk, yeah, because I was effectively having to pay up front for this paper. And the client is a large business, a well-known brand, which you won't mention, but it was a large business, which security-wise, no issue there. But we knew we weren't going to get paid until 30 days after the job was printed and invoiced, etc. And that was fine. So it was a risk. And the way I calculate that risk is, if I lose that 250 grand, is it going to take my business down? And the answer was no. So there was a calculated risk there. I mean, fortunately, we're a very cash-rich financially strong business from the previous few years where we'd had a lot of growth, actually through the COVID period. So I could afford, not that I wanted to, because it would have been very painful to lose £250,000, but it was a risk worth taking. I felt very, very confident about it. But as I say, there's always that backup. If I lose this, is it going to take me down? No, it isn't.
So we put 250k in. We got 6 million in revenue.
Yeah.
Did we add that? Oh, well, that was a different department.
Yeah, that's on top of the other 5-6 million at the time of the other business. So we pretty much doubled in the first year. Went from sort of 5.5-6 million to 12 million.
And you managed to get this. I mean, that's a lot of revenue per employee as well, isn't it? Were these like 5 hotshot sales commercial director type people?
Well, it's because I think it's because this particular business was managed service, so we were outsourcing, and these are particularly high value print jobs. So these are big like catalogues, magazines, brochures, high volume, high value. So it doesn't take a lot of work to get up to very, very high revenue. But yes, the team we took, I pretty much hand cherry picked the best people from that business. So Rob, who's now MD of that division, and then there's 4 other people we brought on board with the right skill set where we could add value and distance ourselves a little bit from the competitors.
I reckon some of the listeners are thinking, yeah, I know, but I ain't got those opportunities right now. Yeah, I know that. It's a timing thing. It's because he knew his industry. And is that true or not, or did you make your own opportunity there? And can other people go and find opportunities like this of their own?
Yeah, 100%. It's network. I think if there's one thing, and I think people who know me, I'm big on network, big on building networks, relationships, allies, partners across business and probably personal.
So it's who you know.
It's who you know. Yeah, it's the old adage, isn't it? What you know, who you know. Yeah, I'm not
who,
clever
not
than
how.
this guy. Yeah, absolutely, it's who. And you build a network, and you build a personal brand, if there is such a thing. Of people know me, trust me. I don't talk BS. I'm straight, and if I say I'm going to do something, I'll get it done. And I think you build a reputation. Then the business also builds a reputation around that. So people want to come and work for us because of the reputation we've built. Reputation,
trust. Yeah, it's not natural for people that have already got it. They've got the who, not how mentality. I mean, the natural instinct is, oh God, we cash flow's tight. What should I do? How am I going to fix this? It's the solving the problem rather than who do I know that can help us here. Yeah. And that's a bit of a mind shift, isn't it? It's a little bit of like, let's just step back for a second. How can we make our life easier? Who do we know? So, how often do you have like cups of coffee with these type of who characters?
Quite frequently. I suppose you've got your close network and the broader network. I go to a lot of events where I bump into a lot of the same people. Yeah. We might have a coffee somewhere in the corner and have a bit of dialogue about an opportunity or something that comes up. I mean, it leads probably onto the acquisition we made earlier this year. That started off with a cup of coffee conversation, another one, and that's literally how that started.
And by the way, maybe you're having some realizations just speaking this out loud. So you acquired another business. It's a little. You didn't acquire the other business. You bolted on another department. You hired 5 people.
Yeah.
And you just invested the money over there to build the revenue stream in that department. So it was still organic, really.
That one was, yeah. The acquisition was very different. That was earlier this year, whereas the startup was 2022. So that's 2 and a bit years in now, and that's settled and established. But this was a different one. But that was over a cup of coffee.
Settled, established, doing 6-7 million, and it's doing all right.
We're, as I say, not complacent, but we've got a strong team with a strong client base, and as I say, we've got to continue to keep delivering on
How many acquisitions have you done?
In this business, I've done 1. Previously, when I'd gone back to my first management buyout of a business in 2007, we acquired another business. Yeah, we bought one other business actually. Yeah.
Okay, so you've successfully done it twice, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's added significant revenues in and boosted the business. So for someone that's not acquired a business before. A lot of the listeners right now haven't acquired businesses. Some have, and we'll get some lessons for them as well. What are the most important areas when it comes to acquiring a business?
Well, as always, and this will probably not be a massive surprise, it's numbers. So it's doing the classic due diligence of the business. What
numbers are you looking at?
So we're looking at net profit, bottom line first. Is this business profitable as it stands? What's its customer base look like? Are they tied into any long-term contracts? Are they stable? How long have you been dealing with them? How many staff have you got? Looking at the numbers, perhaps looking at the last 4 or 5 years of a P&L and saying, okay, we've got an opportunity here. Equally, I've looked at businesses in the past which I've turned down because that didn't stack up. So you look at the numbers and go, don't like look at this business, it's not quite right, and we need a lot of resource thrown into it. And I think when you're an SME like we are, acquiring a business, you have to go in with your eyes open because it's a time drainer. It absolutely drains your time. And this one was no different. Because when lawyers get involved and accountants get involved, they put the brakes on everything. If for the right reasons, obviously, you have to do a lot of due diligence, but you have lots of meetings, lots of conversations. You have to read a lot of stuff, and it takes your eye off the ball. And I think I learned that probably back in 07, 08, that time when I was working for another business a lot younger, and I learned that without a very, very strong finance director, if you're lucky enough to have one, you've got to then rely on an external accountant to do that work for you. So it can be a big distraction. So you have to go into it with your eyes open. And I remember this acquisition, which we completed in April this year, once it had completed, and bearing in mind, so it completed in April, we started that dialogue, I think, probably in September the year before. So that's time frame, but it can take longer.
That's pretty quick though.
That's quite quick. It can take longer. I mean, actually, when I bought the key business,
this, that 8 months? 8 months.
About that. It wasn't urgent, so there was no real pressure to get it over the line. But it just takes quite a lot of your attention.
I just want to acknowledge this for the listeners. Actually, acquiring a business can be a time drainer. There's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of conversations. You've got to do a lot of reading. It's not as glamorous as what you might think it is. And it might take your eye off the ball. It might be distraction.
Yeah,
they're your words, not mine.
Yep.
So let's just acknowledge that before you think that this is such a glamorous route to take. It can be draining.
Starting your own business was an exciting time, wasn't it? You knew you'd have to work hard, but you did it for your future. Lately, though, you're missing out on the important things in life. Time seems to be slipping by. So make the change. Claim back your work-life balance and grow your business today.
It can be. And this is where you need a strong team. Because
who's in your team?
So I've got a senior leadership team. I've got three great people, I suppose, in the top team underneath. But beyond that, I've also got a fantastic
Are we talking
team.
like CMO, CFO?
Yeah, so I've got actually no, we're not that big. So I've got divisional MDs effectively. So I've got my number 2 effectively, Karen, who's MD of the core business, and then Rob, who's MD of the other one we set up together. So it's making sure that you've got those two guys particularly can do the day job in inverted commas and run the 2 businesses without me, worrying too much about it. And don't get me wrong, did I drop any of the balls while we were focusing on this other one? No, I might have nearly dropped 1 or 2, but it definitely it's a distraction. You have to be aware of that, and I think that's really, really important. And again, I think when you're going into opportunities, you do have to bear that in mind. And I think you're in a much stronger position when you probably, like I am now, CEO, and I'm strategically looking at the business going forward. I've got more brain power, more time now, whereas when we did this I was still MD and running the key business. So it's about having the team and the structure underneath to allow you that time and energy to put into the new one. And again, it depends on the deal. Luckily I was buying this business from somebody I knew, and he's stayed in the business. He's got an exit plan of his own.
So that's got its own complications that come with it as well, hasn't it?
Oh, it has. Yeah.
You're prodding at the relationship there. There's a lot of trust. There's probably cognitive bias as well because you know them.
Yep.
How do you mitigate cognitive bias?
You have to be quite black and white about it. You have to kind of just strip away any relationship, strip away any previous history, and just say, what are the numbers telling? What's this business on paper? So if I was buying this as a trade purchase, i.e. he's gone.
Yeah.
I'm buying a business I don't really know that well. I don't know the staff. I knew him, the owner, but he's now gone. He's now gone off and he's sat in his hammock somewhere. You have to look at it that way. Say, what's this business like without him? And that kind of then helps you make the decision. So, okay, this business is sound anyway. Okay, bring him back in. So the guy we bought the business off, he's staying on board for probably 3 years. And while we kind of get the business integrated into the rest of the group and look at his successor and see how we move it forward and build from there.
And this conversation came about over a coffee.
Yeah, because it was an introduction to me through a former colleague who said, look, I know this company. And he said, I think you know the owner. I was like, yeah, I know him. Yeah. I said, well, he's looking for an exit plan. I think it'd be a really nice fit for your business. And that's how that started. And next, we went for lunch. Had a chat.
At the time, he had an exit plan. He was motivated to sell.
Yeah, he wanted to sell. Yeah.
He was motivated already.
Yeah.
So sales do come from a want or a need, don't they? Some people need it, some people want it. Especially when some challenges are going on in people's personal lives, you can get even cheaper, really, on the acquisitions. But so you were introduced, you had a coffee, and once again, you took your opportunity here. Have there been any opportunities that you've not taken? Have you had more opportunities to acquire businesses that you said no to?
I have, but they've been quick decisions. I've looked at them and gone, nah, it's the wrong fit.
Right. So it's not distracted you. You've not taken your eye off the ball. You've not been drained by the process. How did you know how to say no?
Geographically.
All right.
Has been the big one. So this business we bought in April, I've gone in with somebody else. Now he's actually spending more time on it than I am, so we've gone in as a partnership in it. We're the majority shareholder, but he's coming in as a minority shareholder, but he's got the technical knowledge to go and spend time in it. If I was buying a business that was like ours, so a similar business, but maybe just to expand or double our size, that was based 100 miles away, I'd be very nervous about that. Because when I say distracted, I'd be away from my business, focusing on that one. I think it's different if you're buying a business that's got an incumbent management team that wants to stay and they're just looking for a new parent company. Different. Every scenario is different, but I'm instantly put off by location. If it's within, if it was within it's like a 50-mile radius, I go, okay, that's worth a look. But if it was further afield, and I've been offered businesses to look at that are much further afield.
I'm guessing that once you start this ball moving, people are aware that you're buying businesses. You're probably getting offers, questions all the time.
Yeah, I do get approached. Yeah.
So, do you have an investment philosophy? Do you have rules? One of them being geography.
Yeah, that's one of the rules. It's not a written down one. It's just one that sort of I think about. I think that the key driver with acquisition or even a startup is, as I said earlier, it's always protecting the core business. If this goes pear-shaped, is my core business or the two core businesses now, or actually three if we include the acquisition, are they all going to be okay? Because if you look at another one and it's too much of a drain, either financially or in other resource, then you have to go, is this really the right thing? Is this a vanity project, or do I really need this business? Because some people can get carried away with building empires without actually looking at the numbers.
There's two ways of answering that question, though, aren't there? Is this business going to be okay? I suppose you could do it instinctively, and start. That's where the cognitive bias comes in. And no, I'll be all right with it. I'll feel okay with it. And there's that gut feeling. But then there's, all right, let's stress test this. Let's scenario set this. Let's cash flow this out.
Yeah.
What if, worst case scenario, this happened? What if, worst case scenario, do you do any of this? I'm making this up now on the spot with you. Is that part of the decision-making process of saying no?
Yes, totally. Yeah. The numbers have to be the first thing that drive it, as I say, and it's that risk factor. at what level, how much money can I afford to risk on this without it causing me a big issue? And that's what it comes down to. That's the first base. It's financially, can you afford it? Because I hate being in debt. So we haven't got any borrowings at all as a business.
So just a second, for the listeners right now, I'm really bothered about them, because for the ones that wanting to go out and acquire businesses, you're arming them with good questions to ask.
Yeah.
You know, financially, can we afford this? Now, does my business, I'm going to look at, do I have to be in a certain place in my business before I can start acquiring?
Not necessarily. I think if you're somebody who's got who is not worried about borrowing, because obviously there's loads of ways.
There's a mentality there.
Yeah, absolutely, there is a mentality.
So some people are okay with borrowing money.
Absolutely, yeah. I think.
To be honest, though, the UK economy is in a real pickle right now.
Yeah.
Because of the mentality of being okay to borrow money. You look at the national debt, it is an impossibility for our government to ever get out of this.
Oh, yeah, never.
It's literally down to the individuals
to
not really have that mentality moving forward.
Yeah, and I think, as a 51-year-old, I'm at a time in my life which is different. Let's say I was 35. And we're having this conversation now, and I'm 15, 16 years younger, I would probably be less worried about borrowing. But at the moment, I'm thinking, I don't need to burden the business with debt. Why would I? And I had an approach to do that, actually, recently. Somebody wanted to come in and flip the business and say, well, you could walk away with £1 million in your pocket now, you could stay and run it, but it would mean putting the business into debt. I was like, nah, no way am I doing that. Why would I want to do that? That's not part of my plan. So I think the risk element, there's an element of age and the time where you are and how long you want to carry on working for. And for me, it's about making the business solid beyond me. So when I eventually, exit from the business, it's making sure that it's in a strong position financially. I'm not walking away with it burdened with a load of debt that it's got to pay off over the next 5-10 years or whatever. So that's quite important. But again, everybody's different. There's plenty of options out there to fund these deals and acquisitions, etc. That's absolutely fine. But for me, I'm not that I'm risk averse, because I'm definitely not. But I'll take the calculated risk. But I don't want the debt.
Look, big fan of cash flow stability for businesses. Getting yourself into a position where it becomes natural to start looking at these other opportunities. And learned this from a number of people. Brad Sugars, founder of ActionCOACH, being one. Another guy called Donald Miller. He spoke at one of our conferences, BizX, last year. Very commercial, sound businessman. One of the world's best marketers, actually, in a particular area. And what they both profess is the importance of having 3 to 6 months of cash flow in the business, 3 to 6 times your monthly overhead in cash flow in your business, so that if you didn't make any money for the next 3 to 6 months, it could be 3 months. This is a quite risky person, or it could be 6 months for a risk averse person. So if your monthly overhead is 100 grand, you got 600 grand in the bank. 6 months. If your monthly overhead is 10 grand, you got 60 grand in the bank. Once you get to that point, it kind of feels natural to start exploring. That's kind of cash flow stability, really. And very few businesses get to that, as strange as it might sound. And we're meeting people all of the time. It's like, right, what's the cash position? Where are we? How protected are we?
Yeah.
And what's your thoughts on that cash flow stability?
I think cash, like customer is king, cash is king.
Or queen.
Or queen, exactly. Yeah. Thank you for putting me right there. Quite right too. That cash is so important, because you need that for the flexibility to trade and do things, and just give you a little bit of breathing space if you want to make some investment decision. I'm looking at investing in a new printing press, for example, at the moment, which is significant investment. So there's calculated risk in doing that. So cash is absolutely key, and it's about knowing, as you just said there, if income stopped, if sales stopped, how long can I go? How long can I survive for? But also having the ability and the knowledge of your P&L to know if you had to get the black marker out and start drawing some lines through, you could do it quickly and take cost out quickly.
Go back over the last 35 years. When was the biggest learning that you had on the P&L?
It was after we did the first management buyout. So going back
Not that long ago then, really.
2007. So in
Okay.
2007, yeah, it's gone back quite a while. So I was, probably fairly naive. I'd been made MD of the division I was running, and the CEO at the time created this board. So he had all the right people in the right seats to take on to do this MBO. But we had a very good finance director, and he did all the grunt work, all the heavy lifting with the deal, with the lawyers and with the accountants. So I was probably a little bit of a passenger to that. But then, one of the things we did do, and the CEO said to me, he said, right, you need to get your head around P&L. You're going to be a business owner. You need to get your head around the P&L. And I think that made me realise how important it is to understand every single line of sales, all your incomes, all your outgoings, everything. And when I took over the division I was running at the time, that was the first thing I did, to literally understand every single penny, where every penny was going, where our income was coming from. It just helps you understand the mechanics of the business, and where you can take risks, where you need to make some improvements and small gains. I mean, that business back then was a kind of very old equipment. It needed a lot of maintenance, this sort of stuff. So we were spending a lot of money on repairs and things, and it was about trying to squeeze pips out of a bit more out of the kit we had at the time, which we did, and motivating the people and the staff to do it. But it's only because I understood every line on the P&L that allowed me to do that. I just understand it. It's like it's your own money, you have to just treat it like it's your own.
So for some of the people listening, you've got to think pre-2007 days here. Take yourself back to that. That aren't in control of the P&L, that don't understand every single line on the P&L. What words of encouragement would you give them?
If you're not sure, go and find out, is the first thing. Because I used to look at certain bits of the P&L and go, I should know this, but I don't. But kind of, there's no such thing as a stupid question. So I'd walk into the finance director and say, can you just explain that? And I was thinking, he's probably looking at me thinking, like, why don't you know that? So just ask. I think, and the biggest piece of advice I'd give to any business owner, particularly an SME, you haven't got your own sort of CFO or finance director, is to have a brilliant accountant, an accountant that you trust, because that's your trusted ally that's going to guide you and say that's a good idea or that isn't, and actually these are where you need to, these are the areas of your P&L you want to be looking at, and getting that good advice from a trusted ally. So I think it's just, if you're not sure, ask and find out. I'm
a big fan of the PURE acronym for every line on the P&L. So you literally go through every line, and PURE stands for plus. So one of the lines on this is a plus, and what a plus means is that's profitable, and here's the question: how can we get more of that?
Yeah.
That line is profitable. How can we get more of that? That's a good question to ask, and you start to understand that. U for PURE is unnecessary. Ooh, this is unnecessary. How can we stop this? E is equal. Equal means, all right, just leave it alone. R is replaceable.
Yeah.
All right, so we need that supplier or this, but we can replace that with a cheaper option or something like this. So how can you replace that line to be better or faster or stronger? So it's then you learn a lot. You learn a lot through doing that. And the likes of your coaches teach you these kind of things.
Hi, I am Rachel Riley, and I'm really pleased to tell you that I will be the host of BizX 2025. 3 days of speaker sessions, interactive events, and a few surprises along the way.
If you're an ambitious business owner eager to unlock the next level of growth, get more information at thebizx.co.uk.
Looking forward to seeing you there.
Where should let's go over here. So you're the CEO, you're operating as the CEO now, yeah?
Yeah.
You've not always been the CEO.
No.
You've got now, you've technically got divisional MDs underneath you. That's not the normal hierarchy. But what is your role and responsibility as a CEO?
The most important thing about my role is to drive the business forward continually.
What does that mean, though? Drive the business forward.
It's to ensure that we are equipped in the right way, and that means all the things we've probably covered already in terms of sales, cash, the financial side, staff, making sure that we've got the right people in the right seats across each of the divisions, because our people always come first, always, and then customers straight after. So it's ensuring that we've got the structure. I think I moved to CEO earlier this year after we did this acquisition. First time I've ever promoted myself, which is a bit weird, but I did it on purpose. It was a decision I took to actually begin that me stepping away from the day-to-day bean counting or the day-to-day doing.
Yeah.
Get the team underneath, and they're better than me anyway. So it was about doing that.
What's the most important part of your week
The most important part of my week
as the CEO
is understanding how my SLT are getting on in terms of, right, I'll have a conversation usually on a Monday morning very early, driving up to Nottingham in the car, probably at 6:30 in the morning.
6:30, right.
Yeah.
So the most important part of your week is 6:30 Monday morning.
Yep.
In the car.
Yeah. Usually.
What goes on at 6:30?
I'll be talking to Rob, who's MD of the other division, 8+, normally.
What will you be asking him or talking
Well,
about?
we'll be talking about how last week went and what's happening this week and the next few weeks, what's going on, what opportunities there are. And it will just flow. And it's the Monday morning conversation. We're both in the car driving in the same direction, up the M1 usually.
But he's doing the do, not you.
No, but I'll be doing it. We'll be saying, well, what's going on with that one? And we'll just be bouncing things off about the week. And then I'll have the same conversation with Karen, my other
What
MD.
time?
That's usually when I get in, because she'll be there.
Okay.
And we'll have a catch up.
How long does the 6:30 a.m. call last with Rob?
It's usually about half an hour.
Okay, half an hour call in the car, inflow pretty quickly. What happened last week? What's going on this week? What's going on for the coming weeks afterwards?
Yeah.
Bouncing off each other, nice
Yeah.
little energy in there.
Yeah.
Then we get in the office. We meet with Karen at what time?
Usually about 8:00.
Okay, so we meet with Karen at 8:00. Is it the same conversation?
Similar. Just be something about the other division of the business.
Yeah.
There might be some.
What happened last week?
Yeah,
What's
but
happening this week?
There might be what challenges. I mean, it's usually there'll be a difference because they're different. There's different elements to the two businesses. Slightly different conversation, but similar themes. Yeah, it's about right. Okay,
it's classic lion meeting, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it is.
Last
it's
week,
very informal.
issues, opportunities next week.
Yeah, absolutely, and things could come out of the woodwork from nowhere. Wow.
And again, is this at half an hour?
Yeah, 20 minutes, half an hour. Could be a coffee conversation, but it's informal.
You and your coffee.
I know.
Right, Lance, how do you take your coffee?
Just black coffee, Americano, yeah.
Black Americano, pretty simple.
Yeah.
How many coffees do you drink a day?
Not that many. Probably about 2 or 3 at the most.
What time do you have your first one?
First one's when I get in the car at around about 6 a.m. So I'll make one at home and I'll take it with me.
What kind of coffee beans do you have?
I use. I'm really big on Aldi, so I've got. Literally, it's a ground coffee. It's really good. One of their Italian ones. It's fantastic, and it's as good as Starbucks. So
there you go.
I'll have one of those, and that'll keep me going for a few hours. After I'm in the office. So yeah, I don't drink too many, but it's in the morning. It
Nice.
definitely gets my brain going. That's for sure.
Okay. Then, all right. So the 6:30 a.m. Monday, the 8 a.m. Monday, we've got Rob and Karen. There's 3 divisional. Do you have another one or not?
Yeah, I'll have a chat with. Gabe, who runs the business in London that we bought, Market Layer. I don't speak to him that often. He's just getting on with the business. But Darren, the guy I came in with, I talk to him once a week. But then Tom, my other SLT guy, so he only joined us 7-8 months ago. He's taken over quite a lot of my responsibility. So I've offloaded marketing and sales as I've restructured us a little bit. He's taken over quite a lot of my remit, so marketing and sales, which is very close to my heart. So I'll be talking to him quite frequently as well. And he's now flying with that and just getting on with it. So I'm giving him the autonomy to run with that. But we check in daily.
Right. Okay. So you check in daily with all them people, or
Yep.
What's the daily check-in? Is it a phone call? Is it a text message?
Yeah. WhatsApp's mad. Generally speaking,
well, for everyone.
Yeah, for everyone. Yeah, I mean, I lose track of how many WhatsApp groups there are. It's ridiculous. A lot of WhatsApp, particularly if we're not in the same office, obviously, and usually we're not. Monday's probably the day when we are all in. Actually, on a Monday, it could be WhatsApp, could be a call, could be a Teams.
If you only had them Monday mornings and the daily check-ins on WhatsApp or little ad hoc phone calls, will your business grow? If that's all you did, the Monday meetings plus the daily check-ins to keep them driving forward, will your businesses grow?
No, you need to do a lot more than that.
What do you need to do? What else?
It's each of us taking our own responsibility for our own area.
But my question was you personally.
Me personally.
I'm assuming these divisional MDs,
Yeah.
the Robs and Karen, they're the drivers of
Yeah.
the business. But because you've promoted yourself to CEO, is your life getting easier or harder?
That's a great question. I would say neither at the moment. It's
Right.
work in progress. So I think I'm gradually, particularly with Tom coming on board, gradually starting to offload's the wrong word, but actually I suppose it's reconfigure certain elements of the business, which is allowing me a bit more time to think about the wider business, where we're going next, what we're going to do. And I call it the helicopter view. Because before I did all this, before we had the divisional MDs, my helicopter view was probably 5 minutes on a Friday while I was having lunch.
Right.
Now I can get in a helicopter, my virtual helicopter, a bit
It's
more
nice,
often,
isn't
and
it?
just think about
You can see where
we're going,
It's
what
leadership.
challenges are there, what's going on in the market, what are the competitors doing, what are our customers doing,
Future-proofing.
reading, listening,
Got
learning,
it.
looking at it all, and just thinking about, right, where we're going next, what we're going to do.
So that for sure, is part of the CEO role. And I like this analogy. The CMO is the Chief Marketing Officer. Yeah. The CFO is the Chief Finance Officer. The COO is the Chief Operating Officer. It kind of does what it says on the tin, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
what the CEO, the chief, what does that? It doesn't say it on the tin what they do.
No.
And I heard this, and it's stuck with me since. They should be called the CRO, the Chief Reminding Officer. You remind the CEO, the CF, just remind them, the COO and the head of people and, the head of sales. You just keep reminding them. Just remind them all day long. It was an analogy that kind of stuck with me as a bit of a role and responsibility for a CEO.
Makes more sense.
Remind all those people, you're in charge of this. How's the marketing going? How's that implementation of that plan going?
Yeah.
How can I help you today? Yeah. Branson once was in Dublin and managed to get on a dinner table with Richard Branson at an event, and asked him what his role and responsibility was as a CEO of 469 companies. He says, two, vision and strategy, where it's going, and firefighting. I said, firefighting? He said, oh yeah, that's the fun of business. Sometimes I just turn up to one of the businesses and say, what do you want my help with today? I'll literally do anything. Pack the boxes, whatever.
Yeah.
Help put out the fires. That's the fun bit of business. That the CMO and the CFO, they're all controlling all this stuff. All right, this has been fascinating. So one more subject, and then I've got some quick questions. You mentioned exit earlier on.
Yeah.
What is exit strategy? And some people look at that and think, I don't want an exit strategy, but what is it?
It's having a plan to either sell the business, hand the business over, flip it. It's a way out from, it's not a way out, it's probably the wrong word, but it's just having a plan. I think I've asked business owners before of a certain age, older than me, and running a nice business looks good, numbers look good, and I've said to them, what's your exit strategy? And they say, I haven't really got one. I'm thinking, but hang on, you're 64 or you're 67 or whatever. Surely you've got a plan. You can't carry on forever. I've not really thought about it.
Why is it so important?
Because anything could happen. Who knows what's around the corner? And you have, as a business owner, you have a responsibility for your staff. This is the first thing. So if I don't act responsibly as a business owner, I've got 30 staff to think about and their jobs and their livelihoods and their families. So for me, that's what keeps me awake at night, keeps me motivated and inspired to do the next thing. Is that actually it's not just about me and my shareholders. It's about everybody. It's about all the staff, about making sure that the business after I go is in good shape for the next 10, 20, 30 years or whatever, ever takes it on. So it's just about having a plan. And I think this only really came to my mind probably a couple of years ago. I bought the current business in 2021. We set up the other division in 22, made an acquisition this year. But I did start thinking about an exit plan probably last year in terms of, right, okay, what time frame do I want to put on it, roughly? It's not cast in stone. How do I want to make it? What do I want to do to the business between now and then to actually help me exit? Because yes, I want to walk away with a few quid in my pocket and say, yeah, I've worked hard, I've earned it. But equally, I want to make sure that the business is in great shape, and hopefully somebody else takes it over who's smarter than me, who moves it on to the next level. So it's just about having a plan, and it doesn't even need to be on a piece of paper. As I say, it's up in the upstairs filing cabinet. I've got an idea in my head what I want to do. It's then just starting to put the round pegs in the round holes and creating the structure to take it on.
Round peg, round hole. That's a beautiful phrase, isn't it? It's much better than square peg, round hole. Tell you what I got from what you just said. The exit strategy is really important. Number one, because I know where I'm going. Number two, because I've got an end in mind. I know what the business looks like when it's finished, and I start doing the important stuff properly immediately, rather than just turning up. I mean, because even the current business that you've got, that you've built up to 14 million in a short window, really, acquired it, stabilized it, grew it, acquired something else, bolted that one on, added a few million more in revenue. Plus, we've got an exit plan of where we know what the business looks like when it's finished. I know where I'm going, and I'm going to do this properly in the shortest amount of time, whilst being sustainable.
Yep.
So, good summary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think it's rocket science. I just think as long as you start with the end in mind, the goal, and that's what drives me. It's okay, I've now got a goal. It's not a cast in stone time frame, but if it moves back a couple of years, fine, no rush. I'm only 51, but equally, it's at least to have a plan, have a goal, and get the business ready for the next phase. Which is why it's important to have the team, the right people, and that's so important because people for me is the most important thing in any business. It's your own people at all levels.
What's the best book you've ever read?
My favourite book is Leading from the Jump Seat by Peter Docker. I don't know if you know this book. It's about leadership and trust. It's about handing over control.
What's the key to getting trust?
It's having people who share your values and vision and same sort of DNA, which I'm really lucky to have that in my team. We all share the same view of where we think the business can go, what the opportunities are.
When did you read that book?
I read that book probably about not that long ago. Actually, I would guess it 3 years ago. I think 2, 3. Actually, probably maybe certainly no longer than 3 years ago.
What impact has that had on this strategic growth of this business?
It's made me think about handing over control. Not that I was a control freak, but I think it in a sort of true coaching culture and leadership style, it's about giving people trust, autonomy, and say once somebody's got you, they've got my trust, I can then say, right, okay, that's your baby now, that's your train set, you go and run that, you go and push that forward because we're on the same page with that, and you can do it better than me anyway. So I think that's the thing that comes in. Have you, I quite often say, surround yourself with people cleverer than me. I'll surround myself with people cleverer than me, because that's what's going to drive the business forward. It's not all about me. I've not got all the best ideas. I might attract the people to come in, but actually I want them to drive it forward. So I think this book is all about trust. And if you get the opportunity to read it, I highly recommend it because it's about an RAF pilot handing over control, hence the jump seat of a situation on an aeroplane.
What's the most beautiful thing in entrepreneurship?
Freedom.
Have you got freedom?
Have I got freedom? I have got freedom because I'm in control of my own destiny, but that comes with responsibilities.
Is that truly free then?
Probably not truly free. I've got freedom. I am in control of my own destiny, but I have.
You've got a pathway to total freedom right now.
There's a pathway to it. Yeah, you can. There's an end goal. So if you look at the classic, light at the end of the tunnel. I can see the light. I can see how I can get there.
What's the best gift you can give anyone?
Trust.
What is trust?
It's autonomy and the ability to believe in somebody.
The ability to believe in someone and put them in charge.
Yeah.
That's trust.
It is.
It's a nice definition, isn't it?
It is. It is because I say this to the team. Funny enough, I had this conversation just yesterday with my management team. I said, you can't break it. Take a risk. You can't break it. Yeah, 95% of the decisions that you guys will make, I would do the same. The 5% that's different, don't worry about it. And that's trust.
That is trust, and that's also encouragement to take risks.
Yeah.
It's also removal of the fear factor of making mistakes, because most people in business make mistakes and hide it.
Yeah.
And you're saying, look, you can't break this. Any mistake you make is all right.
Yeah, you learn. It's learning.
Beautiful. All right, so now the listeners have listened to this conversation. What would you say the first action that people should take is?
For business owners,
yeah,
I think think about your plan. If it's a business owner,
exit plan,
yeah. Think about an exit plan. If you haven't got an exit plan, think about it. Even if you think it might be 10 years out,
yeah,
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the time is. Just start having a think about it. You don't need to write it down, but just have a little think about how it might happen, how you want to do it. Have you got a team below you who might want to do an MBO and take it on themselves? If not, would you like that to happen? So therefore you need to build a team, or do you just want to do a trade sale? Whatever it is, it's about maximising the value of the business. So when you do exit, you've made the most out of it and you've got the business in great shape to go forward. So it's two things. It's win-win. So it's about that. That's my advice to any business owner, because as I said earlier, I've met a few and I was really surprised that they didn't have a plan or hadn't even thought about it at a significant age. I was shocked by that.
What's the one thing that's changed most about you since, for almost like small business mentality to the mentality that you've got? What's the one thing that's changed most about you?
I think I'm more rounded. I don't worry too much about that. Am I a worrier? No. You can only control what you can control.
And how did you learn that lesson?
I think by being stressed and by being worried about stuff in the previous parts of my 35-year career. I've seen it all probably, and I've had some massive challenges both in different parts of businesses I've worked at, and that makes you more resilient. It gives you the strength of character to say, I can deal with that, and that confidence to deal with different situations. So, for example, if we had another massive, headwind in terms of the economy, I know things aren't great at the moment anyway, and we've always got challenges, I feel very, very comfortable and prepared to deal with whatever's thrown at me. And I don't mean that arrogantly. It just means that I've got a huge memory bank of experience, not just personally, but within the team, to say, look, we can deal with headwinds, we can deal with challenges. And I think I'm far more rounded now as I guess an all-rounder, because I've learned so much, and I never stop learning. It's that classic every day's a school day, but literally I will learn something new, if not every day, every week, and I take that on board and I'll share it with the team, and what can I do next?
Look, you've said loads of things today that I've just loved, and but my favourite part of this conversation has been you, the blend of well-rounded, level-headed, commercial, strategic discussion that's kind of reflecting on your journey and giving back to the giving back to the audience. So I think that balanced approach to the discussion has been my favourite bit. What's been your favourite bit?
Talking about it. I enjoy it. Not about me necessarily, but I think you've asked some great questions which have drawn out and made me think. And I'm very, very passionate about my business, but actually I love helping others as well. So if the listeners can take 1%, 5% of what we've talked about today, that ticks a massive box for me. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, they're going for the 20. They're going for the 20% today.
That's fine.
Big jump, strategic discussion. This is how you get your business now to 14 million.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lance Hill.
Thank you.
If you want weekly episodes from industry experts like this, then subscribe to the ActionCOACH UK YouTube channel or follow the Business Growth Podcast on Spotify, Apple, or your chosen platform. See you next time.